Everything matters. How we wake up, how we dress, how we eat, how we meet, how we train, how we practice, how we rehab, how we recover, how we treat one another, how we treat everyone.
Second half, that's our style. That's what we represent. Showing that fight, showing your urgency, showing the effort and the technique and the violence that we stand for, guys.
This is Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh. Here is your host, Ethan Greenberg.
Welcome to Jets Game Day. I'm Ethan Greenberg, filling in for Eric Allen. Bart, Scott, Leger, Duzable here in studio. The Jets 7-6 taking on the Detroit Lions, who are 5-1 in their last 6 games. But Bart, the Jets with 4 games left could have a photo finish in Week 18 at Miami. We'll talk about that later. The Jets have their work cut out for them.
Oh, they do. They're facing arguably the hottest team, like you alluded to, 5-1 in their last 6. They have a lot of belief, and they're trending in the right direction at the right time. It's about who plays the best in November and December. Right now, they're confident. They're a team that sees light at the end of the tunnel. They're ahead of schedule, much like the Jets. So you talk about a photo finish. The Jets have a lot of ground to make up. If you look at, they find themselves on the outside looking in because they didn't take care of their business. Now they're going to have to watch what other people do and hope that they can help them out. But for that to be effective, they got to take care of their own business, and it's going to be tough. You got to win your games at home.
For the Jets, Leger, they've been in each of their last 2 games. What's been the missing piece for them?
Well, Ethan, they have to start a lot faster. If you look at the last 2 games, right, the Minnesota game, they were down 20-6 at half. And then even last week, right, versus the Buffalo Bills, get a penalty right before half. They allow the Buffalo Bills to score down 7-0. They have to start a lot faster. And then finishing in the red zone. We saw it in the Minnesota game, right? 6 times to the red zone, you only get 1 touchdown. You cannot win in the NFL when you do not score touchdowns in the red zone. And then on defense, right, we got a lot of turnovers earlier in the year. Last 2 games, -4 in the turnover margin. It's hard to win games when you do that. So they have to start a lot faster, get back to getting some of those turnovers, and then finish in the red zone.
Leger, what did you learn about this Jets team after last week in Buffalo, the way that they played?
Mike White is tough. I mean, ridiculously tough. How many hits did he take? We saw the hit from Ed Oliver. He got up, went away for a play, came back, then got hit by, Matt Milano, and we thought he was done for the game. But he pulled out his best Paul Pierce impression, came back into that game, and led the Jets in the second half. Again, not enough plays at the end to win that game, but Mike White is tough.
All right, we're off to a great start. Before we hear from head coach Robert Saleh, let's hear from Cynthia Freeland with some great numbers on Sauce Gardner.
It's time for Maximum Altitude with Cynthia Freeland, presented by NFL All Day.
Through 13 games, the Jets defense ranks 2nd best in passer rating allowed at 78.1, 4th best in passing yards allowed per game at 189.4, and only 1 quarterback has managed to throw for more than 1 passing touchdown without an interception in a game. In fact, all other quarterbacks combined for just 9 passing touchdowns and 12 interceptions. While the defense as a group is elite, rookie corner Sauce Gardner is making a strong case for Defensive Rookie of the Year. PFF rates Gardner number 1 among all defensive backs, not just rookies, in coverage with an 88.7 grade. No other 2022 rookie rates over 80. Gardner has allowed only 67 receiving yards in man coverage this whole season, which is the fewest among 58 corners with at least 20 man coverage targets. It follows that he's only allowed 2.9 yards per target, also the fewest in the league. Sauce also paces the NFL in passes defensed with 16. Next Gen Stats shows that last week, Gardner lined up across from Stephon Diggs on just 33.3% of snaps. Diggs' final stat line was just 3 catches for 37 yards. What's even more important is that Josh Allen, who leads the league in touchdown passes to receivers aligned wide, targeted his slot receiver on 56% of dropbacks, the highest rate of the season, to stay away from Sauce and DJ Reed's outside dominance. My win-share model ranks the Jets corner group as number 1 in the NFL, and not just because of what happens when quarterbacks target pass catchers in Sauce's coverage, but also because his presence changes the play calling of opposing offenses. The Lions have scored 30 or more points in 7 games this season, the most such games in the NFL. Much of their production has come from the connection between Jared Goff and his number 1 receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, which means Sauce Gardner could make a big statement and take another big step forward in making his case as Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Stay tuned. Caroline Hendershot sits down with head coach Robert Saleh after this. Time for Inside the Walls, presented by Microsoft Surface.
All right, Coach, you've had some pretty close games the last 2 weeks with Minnesota and then Buffalo. What do you think is the biggest thing this team can take away from those 2 games?
So playoff atmosphere between Minnesota, Buffalo, respectively, 1 and 2 in their conferences with regards to seeding. You know, there's no moral victories, but to go toe-to-toe and to recognize that winning, when you get to playoff time, when you get to December, you get to January and you're in the playoffs and you're playing these elite teams, it's not so much about a talent discrepancy anymore. It's about details. It's about 1 or 2 plays. It's about being perfect in situations. And, you know, you look at the Minnesota game, a lot of things we can learn from 3rd down and red zone. You look at the Buffalo game, a lot of things we can learn with regards to taking care of the football and finishing our drives. And so, you know, that's always going to be the theme when you look at all these games as we move forward in December and you look at all these games that have playoff ramifications. Those are the ones that stand out. So to get that experience, awesome. To fall on the short end of the stick on those games, not so much, but we still have an opportunity here in December to make things right.
Sitting at 7-6, what do you think this Jets team has proved?
Nothing, because at the end of the day, there's only one team at the end of the year that's happy, and it's a team that wins it all. But you know, I think there's a lot of excitement around this team. It's very young, and there's a lot of really exciting pieces that we have. But at the same time, our focus is on this moment, being present. We just got to get to the field and make it happen.
Dan Campbell, he seems to be just absolutely beloved by all of his players. What do you think of his coaching style and his approach to football?
I think he's real. He doesn't try to be somebody he's not. And spending time with him, you could see that he's as authentic as it gets. And I think players have respect for people who are authentic and secure in their own skin. And I think he's one of those guys. And there's the empathy part of it too, that he's played in this league and he understands the grind that they've gone through.
The Lions won the last 5 out of their 6 games. What have you seen from them on tape that makes them so challenging?
They play with great effort, which is a testament to the coaching staff. But like I said, offensively, you know, their O-line is arguably the best in ball. Jared's been fantastic. Their skill guys just play very, very hard. And, you know, they've been scoring points at a pretty high rate. And then defensively, I know they started a little bit slow, but they've simplified to a degree, and they've gotten better and better as the weeks have gone. So they're getting hot at the right time, and shoot, their playoff hopes are alive. So we're getting another playoff type atmosphere again here at MetLife.
Sauce Gardner, born and raised in Detroit. I'm sure this game is going to be really fun for him. But do you feel as though you have the Defensive Rookie of the Year within him?
Absolutely. I know there's a lot of guys out there who are having fantastic years, but he's done things that don't show up on tape or the statistics. The way he's blanketing receivers, and not just receivers, the best of the best, from Jamar Chase to Tyreek Hill to Jalen Waddle to Jefferson to Diggs twice. I mean, there's elite company that he's had to go against, and he's been doing as good a job as anyone, not just rookies, but players all around. And he's got an unbelievable running mate with DJ Reed, who's been able to give him a lot of veteran knowledge and has helped him along the way, and a great coach in Tony Oden. But he's doing a lot of things that do not show up on the stat sheet. If you watch his tape, it is unquestionable the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you on Sunday, Coach.
Thank you.
After the break, we're back in the studio talking Jets football, and Brian Baldinger will break down tape on the Lions receiving core. Don't go away. Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh is brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Jets.
Welcome back to Jets Game Day, guys. Let's just jump right into the playoff picture, because the Jets are fighting with 3 teams for a playoff spot. You're looking at the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Chargers. Excluding the Jets, which one of these teams do you think can make a run?
I mean, when you look at the schedule, you want to look at maybe the Chargers, but the Chargers is always an accident waiting to happen. They always, right when you believe in them, let you down. But with that being said, the Jets don't have a picnic now, because now all of a sudden you have 2 teams that has aspirations that they maybe didn't have a couple of weeks ago. So they find themselves saying, hey, maybe we can catch the Titans. And then now you have the Lions saying, well, if we win out now, that gives us 10 victories, and we have an opportunity to make it to the postseason. So we can't worry about the other teams. The Jets have to take care of business, something they failed to do on a consistent basis coming out of the bye. But if you would ask yourself, okay, who do you think should likely have the easiest schedule, which we know that usually doesn't mean anything, you got to say the Chargers. If they get past Tennessee, who's reeling, lost to Jacksonville, if they're able to do that, they have their rare weapons on the offensive side of the ball. We know they can put up points with anybody. They're inconsistent on defense, but the past week, they were really good on defense was a shock. So who knows, man?
Right, from a Jets perspective, you got to take care of what you can control, and right now that's the Jets schedule. Leger, when you look at the schedule on the other hand of the spectrum, which one of these teams do you think might slide a little bit?
I'm going to say the New England Patriots. If you look at the Patriots, right, at Las Vegas, we don't know what team we're going to get. Last week they were up 2 scores in the fourth quarter and let Baker Mayfield, who literally just got to L.A. 48 hours before the game, let them have 2 game-winning drives, and they won that game. And then if you look at the schedule as well, Cincinnati, they're fighting for the division crown right now in the AFC North, right? Lamar Jackson is hurt, but they have an opportunity to potentially win that division. Miami's still fighting for a playoff spot. So, and then at Buffalo, right? We don't know what that's going to entail. Will Buffalo actually have to play everybody? I think they will. If Kansas City wins out, they still have to continue to win games right there. So I think the New England Patriots have a tough schedule. But to Bart's point, right? The Jets don't have an easy schedule either because Detroit is one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, still fighting for an NFC spot. Jacksonville is still in this thing because Tennessee lost to them last week in blowout fashion. So Seattle is still fighting for a spot in the NFC. So if you're the Jets, I think the magic number is 3, right? You have to win 3 out of the last 4 to kind of solidify yourself and get into the playoffs, and everything else will fall into place.
Bart, when you look at the Jets' remaining schedule here,
Yes.
specifically week 17 and 18, 2 road trips, what's more difficult in your perspective, to go out to the West Coast or to wrap up the season in Miami?
Well, definitely the West Coast, right? You understand the 12th man has traditionally been a advantage for the Seahawks. Geno Smith, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a tough test, right? And they play gritty and grimy, right? Pete Carroll plays a tough brand of football. You know, Kenneth Walker is one of these in between the tackles. They're going to have to make sure that they don't miss a lot of tackles, something that the Jets have struggled with at certain times against certain types of backs. I believe Kenneth Walker presents that same problem, a back with a huge trunk, shifty and lateral movement and, you know, patience to the hole and acceleration through the hole. So the Jets are going to have to step up. But this is what the playoffs is all about. You have to earn it. Nobody's going to give. You can't sneak into the playoffs. You got to be playing your best football if you want to deserve the right to represent your organization in the postseason.
Look, we're getting closer to kickoff. Jets-Lions right around the corner. For a closer look at this matchup, here's Brian Baldinger.
This is Baldy's Breakdown.
Thanks a lot, Ethan. I want to take a look at one of the key matchups in this game with the Lions, and it's the Lions receivers against the Jets secondary.
Detroit's number 1 wide receiver is number 14, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a great route runner. He separates. Jared Goff trusts him. He leads him in receptions, yards, touchdowns, you name it. He's emerging into a go-to player. Now, the number 2 best receiver right here is up at the top, Josh Reynolds. See, he was with Jared Goff with the Rams. They've got a great chemistry. He's a big target, all right, and he runs good routes. And there's a great trust between Jared Goff and along with Josh Reynolds. Now, there's Khalif Raymond, there's DJ Chark. He throws to the backs. But the Jets have to be cognizant of right here, Jamison Williams. This is his only catch, but he's a blazer, all right? He runs in the 4.2s. The Vikings don't pay any attention to him. And his first catch in the NFL was a 41-yard touchdown last week. You've got to know where number 9 is. He's only going to get more and more playing time. And then you're going to go up against guys like Sauce. I mean, Sauce at the bottom, this play right here is classic Ahmad Gardner right here. Like, he's looking at the crosser right there, Dawson Knox, thinking maybe he could pick it. But once he realizes the ball's in the air, now he has a great ability to recover and to finish the play and keep you out of the end zone. He's been doing it for most of the 13 games that the Jets have played so far this season. And on the other side is DJ Reed. DJ Reed, basically the right corner. They like to play left side, right side most of the time. And so his recognition is instant. Avoids the block right there and takes down Stephon Diggs. I mean, the matchup on the outside between Detroit's receivers and the Jets' corners should be the game within the game.
Fill up your cups. The morning tea is coming up next, followed by final thoughts on today's matchup with the Lions.
Ethan, there's a lot of notable rookies playing in today's matchup of Jets-Lions. So let's just start in draft order and go with number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson. He leads the Lions and all rookies with 7 sacks on the year so far.
It did work out for the Jets, though, because 2 picks later, they select Sauce Gardner, who leads the league with 16 pass defenses. He leads the AFC in terms of votes at the cornerback position. And today, you'd imagine he might see some of someone he saw in college at Cincinnati. That's Alabama wide receiver Jamison Williams, the speedy guy. And remember, he made his debut a couple weeks ago, had his first touchdown last week.
Well, Jameson Williams might have been drafted out of Alabama, he actually spent time with Garrett Wilson at Ohio State, and Garrett Wilson has just been having an incredible season. Just last week, he broke Keyshawn Johnson's rookie receiving yards record. He's 4 catches away from breaking Wayne Krabet's rookie receptions record, and he's closing in on 1,000 receiving yards, which would be the first time a Jets rookie has done so in franchise history.
Well, let's talk about a former number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff, okay, Lions quarterback. In his last 5 games, 8 touchdowns, no picks, 22 touchdown passes on the year, 7 interceptions. He's only thrown 2 touchdowns on the road and 4 out of his 7 interceptions also on the road.
Ooh, and he's 0-3 against the AFC East.
But you have to give credit where credit is due. The Detroit Lions, 5-1 in their last 6.
Yeah, so they've been heating up at the right time.
Especially in December when it's cold outside.
That's the T.
This segment is brought to you by HCL Tech, supercharging progress.
Always great catching up with Caroline over some tea, but let's talk about this matchup a little bit more. Bart, we've talked about how the Lions 5-1 in their last 6. What's been their formula for success?
I mean, versatility. I mean, St. Brown, Swift. You know, they can hit you with so many different aspects. And Goff has been playing at a high level. He's emboldened behind that great offensive line. We even saw a trick play to Sewell, you know, coming out. I mean, we saw a fake punt on the 28 on their own 28-yard line. That means that Dan Campbell's going for broke. He has nothing to lose. He's playing with house money. They understand they have a lot of draft equity next year. They're ahead of schedule. Everybody's happy in Detroit. They're going to come out and they're going to play loose. And the Jets is going to have to match that intensity because, listen, if they lose, they're expected to lose. The difference is because the Jets have played so well early, expectations are high. And it's so much harder to have to live up to expectations than playing loose with house money. It is playoff intensity. Whether the Jets make the playoffs or don't make the playoffs, the playoffs is essentially started now for the Jets. Every game this point forward is a must-win. Let's see if they can handle the anxiety and the expectations of their fan base.
Well, the Jets going up against Jared Goff, Leger. Over his last 5, 8 touchdowns, no picks. Is this the best football that he's been playing in his career?
Yeah, I think it's the best football that Jared Goff has played, and you got to give a kudos to offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He makes the game easy for him. I mean, multiple. You heard Bart talk about it. They're multiple on how they come out in different personnel groupings, right? 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends. They'll try to punch you in the mouth, run duo, double teams in the middle on the defensive tackles, but then they'll spread those guys out. That way they can get the one-on-one opportunities with Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark on the outside, Josh Reynolds as well. So he's been efficient in knowing where to go with the football, but also his offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, has done a really good job scheming things up to make the game easy for Jared Goff.
And for Jared Goff, only been sacked 19 times this year, Bart. Good offensive line. The Jets' strength is their defensive line. On defense, what's your take overall in this matchup? Where's the advantage here?
It's based on the help of Quinnen Williams. He's by far and away the best defensive tackle in the game. I'll take him before Chris Jones. I'll take him before Aaron Donald this year. He's playing at that elite level. He was having a tremendous game last week before he got injured. They're going to need him to swallow up some of those double teams to allow those linebackers to go. And then when you decide to play coverage, because the Lions have so many weapons, including a dual threat back, it's going to put all your pass coverage at harm's way because you're going to have to figure out how you're going to try and take away some of these guys because you know Jared Goff is going to have extra time because that offensive line is that good. It's going to take time, and we're going to have to depend on coverage sacks. Listen, they got their work cut out for them. There's no way around it, but what better way would you want it? Strength on strength in front of your home crowd. Let's challenge the 12th man and our 12th man to step up and show out. Start the pregame at 8 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Leger, there's no show next week, but the Jets do have a short week with the Jacksonville Jaguars. What's the trickiest part from after today's game into next Thursday?
It's all about recovery. How quick can you recover? And it's going to start right after the game versus the Detroit Lions, right? Getting those legs back right, getting in the cold tub, making sure you're doing all your massage therapy, you're stretching, everything you need to do, because everything gets accelerated on a short week. So you hate to have a late Thursday night game this late in the schedule, but this is the NFL, right? And Bart talked about it. Each one of these games are going to be like playoff atmosphere. You got to win out or win at least 3 out of the 4. So recovery is going to be the most important thing for this New York Jet team after they play the Detroit Lions.
That's all we have for this episode of Jets Game Day. Jets Lions around the corner, quickly followed by Jets Jags. I hope both of you have wonderful holidays. Everyone watching, have a wonderful holiday. We'll be back in studio preparing for the Seattle Seahawks.